This is the Metal Queens podcast. I'm Steve Richards. That's Kristin Starkey, now most known for her work in the metal genre as a singer for the bands Temperance and Twilight Force. Temperance from Italy, Twilight Force from Sweden, and YouTube covers too. Dr. Kristin Starkey worked extensively in opera pre-pandemic. She has made a name for herself utilizing unique vocal techniques, healthily blending and switching between both classical and rock and metal styles. In 2018, Kristin graduated with her Doctor of Musical Arts degree in vocal performance from Stony Brook University on Long Island in New York. She now lives in Sweden and enjoys spending time between there and New York, too, her home city. When she's not touring with Temperance and Twilight Force, Kristin offers vocal coaching online. We'll talk about that coming up for all desired vocal styles and continues to make covers on her YouTube channel. Happy to have Kristin Stark. Dr. Kristin Starkey join me here on the MQP.
Hello, thank you
Hello.
very much. Thank you very much. Hey.
And welcome
How you doing?
from Sweden. We're two Long Island people originally from Long Island.
Two
Um,
Long Islanders.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
For those here watching and discovering you for the first time, how would you describe what you do?
Oh boy, I guess what do I do? I sing for two metal bands, symphonic slash modern sort of metal styles. And then I teach vocal lessons. I've been teaching for 15 years now. But my specialty is the crossover artistry of metal and opera techniques. And these techniques are completely different. And no one really does this, like a proper opera technique. So I went to school for opera. I was in Stony Brook for 6 years, doing my master's doctorate there in vocal performance. And I've always been a metalhead my whole life. It was actually early Nightwish that got me into wanting singing opera. So that was an interesting sort of, everyone thinks it was the opposite. It's like, oh yeah, you started doing opera and then you found metal. It's like, no, I found metal. The metal brought me to the opera. And then so I studied my ass off and then going to metal. It was the pandemic actually because all the jobs just disappeared. You know, I lost all the upcoming opera gigs and stuff like that. And I was like, well, fuck it. Now's the time that I can just actually show what I do in metal as well. And then I started doing covers on YouTube, and that went really well. And then it kind of snowballed from there. So it's really cool because, like, really, this is a dream of mine to be doing just exactly this and to really be switching between these two and like blending the two genres and seeing that they are compatible. They are very interesting. And teaching others how to make this, technique kind of go forward, how much more you can do. And I always tell people that all my metal techniques, all the crazy stuff you hear me doing, it's 100% from opera. And so when I teach, I base it around the classical foundation. It's super, super important. And what I actually used to say up until this point was, if you think about it, opera technique has been around for hundreds of years, hundreds. And I used to say, we're still alive with our contemporaries, but unfortunately recently that contemporary passed away. But it just goes to show that the fact that like metal techniques have been around for such a short period of time in history of vocal production that people don't really know what to do in the safest way possible. So it's kind of like my dream and my goal to like get that out there, teach proper vocal techniques, show what proper vocal techniques should sound like in metal as well. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I do. And then I make covers because it's really fun.
We'll talk about the covers coming up here. So
Yeah.
opera, you and I grew up in towns not far from each other and very close to New York
Yeah.
City on Long
Super
Island.
close. Yeah.
My grandmother took me to the Metropolitan Opera. She was classically trained pianist, so that's my background. Metal, of course, big on Long Island. There were great metal clubs. My college station did a metal show there. You went to CW Post. They had a great station. They had metal shows on too. What was
Yeah.
music like in your house growing up?
Oh, it's interesting. Well, both of my parents were not musicians,
Mm.
but they were very supportive always of what I was doing. I felt like at a young age I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And my mom's from the Bronx, of course, and and she was super into like she grew up with like the hip hop scene, and so she was super into hip hop, R&B and B and all that stuff, but also kind of liked metal a lot too. Like she was really into Metallica, kind of like on a very surface level, but she introduced me to the Metallica S&M album
Mm.
when I was 9 or something. And that kind of blew my mind. That kind of opened my mind that it was like, whoa, you can have orchestra and metal. And I also love listening to soundtrack music. I remember when I was like, I don't know, super young, and there was no way of like getting music. So what I did was I played the Jurassic Park film and sit there with a cassette recorder and like press record to like from the TV to get the Jurassic Park soundtrack. And it was that was kind of what I love. So I love soundtrack music, and then rock and metal with the orchestra kind of just like that was like this is what I want out of music. Oh my God. And yeah, that's kind of that. I mean, I started, I always wanted lessons. My parents were like, oh, we don't want it to be noisy in the house. It's too noisy. No drums, no whatever. So I started with guitar. You could hear the voice.
Oh
I
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very real. All my European friends are like, that's not a real accent. I was like,
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
a real ass accent. Don't worry. And yeah, so I just, you know, yeah, I guess that's just how it went. I started guitar lessons when I was 11 or 12, something in Belmore, around there.
Mm.
And I had a great teacher who, helped me. And then the school at my high school I went to had a guitar program, which was unbelievable, actually. So I had the most amazing guitar mentor there. And I was like, I'm going to school for music and I'm going to school for guitar. And it was just, I felt like the school had then it was pretty rare for high schools to have so much music, like to help, foster that love of music. And yeah, so I was doing everything in high school. I did guitar was my main. Then I did tenor sax, I did cello, and I was learning everything. Then I got a job at Sam Ash in my undergrad years, and that helped me also learn like every instrument, because they're like, hey, you want this student? It's a kid in flute, it's a kid in clarinet, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I started learning, and then I was like, oh, I can literally play all these instruments at this point, because every day I was teaching something new, and so that's been really cool. I mean, I've always just been around music, and it's always been my passion, my life. So it makes sense. So, but yeah, no, it's funny because my parents like aren't musicians, but they really did their best to like do what they could to like help me along the path.
You studied opera under Brenda Harris. How did
Mhm.
her mentorship shape you and your techniques?
Oh, Brenda's the best. She is the best. She is like one of the best sopranos that you could find, and she's still at Stony Brook now, and I don't know if she does more private lesson stuff anymore, but she has also fostered so much, because as a contralto, which is technically the rarest female voice type, it's very strange, and it's really easy for people to miscategorize you because your voice is strange. And basically what a contralto means is that you have a bit of extensions of the range on both ends. That's why when you hear me, I can sing really low and also super, super high. But it's very easy for people to hear that timbre and think, oh, you're obviously soprano. I'm like, no, my voice sits very low. You could hear my speaking voice is quite low,
Yeah.
and that's where my voice sits. So it basically is where your voice lives in your body is basically your voice type. It's more advanced than that, but I mean, that's why it's so hard to really discover voice types, because you need to go through people's breaks in their registers and where that sits and feels, and sometimes even your body type will determine your voice type. It's like your height and like your everything. It's strange. So Brenda was somebody who really understood that and really just fostered it. And Stony Brook was just so amazing because they did stuff for me, like for my voice type. Like we did the opera Benjamin Britten, The Rape of Lucretia, and that the lead is a contralto. Now, contraltos are never the leads in opera. We're usually like the witches, bitches, and stuff like that. And it was just such a great program that they helped foster that for me to do this full production, like for my voice type. And it just felt it just was a great situation overall. But yeah, Brenda was just amazing. I don't know how she feels about me doing like only metal now. I mean, I do a lot of course, opera mixed in. But she, I would ask her, like, how do you belt? And she's like, oh, you kind of do it like this. But a lot of opera people, they still have this feeling that when you sing this way, you're ruining your voice. And I actually had a couple problems with when I was in opera and doing auditions over here, where people would message my manager and be like, they look me up on YouTube or Google and they'll find, everything about me, like, and it's only metal. It's like very rare that you'll find my opera stuff at this point. Now it's everything I've done in metal. And so they'll message him and be like, oh, so is this girl, like, she sounds great, but is she ruining her voice? And it's like, nah. What the hell's going on? Yeah, so it's been very frustrating because there is this very old sentiment in that sort of community that you're doing something wrong if you sing this certain way. And I think even most of my colleagues felt that way, or they'd be scared to like do something different with their voice because of this. And yeah, and I'm here to say that's not true. So yeah, that's
were there any, so you mentioned Nightwish earlier, were there any specific artists or bands that made you think, I want to do that in metal?
Avenged Sevenfold.
Yeah, good one.
And they are the band that I would not be here without them. And it sounds funny because you're like, Avenged Sevenfold doesn't really match with but okay, I saw them when I was 13 at a bar in Farmingdale. And it was the Downtown, if you remember.
I remember the Downtown, yeah.
Yeah, it was a really small club. They just came out with the Waking the Fallen album, which it was like it was a hit a bit, like it started getting on MTV, but the next albums they really took off. So they were like nobodies, but I remember just the moment that I was just sitting there, like I was 13, I was just like looking up like, and I remember telling myself, this is what I need to do with my life. Like, this is what I'm doing. And that is the exact moment in time when I officially decided, and I never looked back since. So I owe them so much of my career in a way. And it's super funny to say that because it's just, and of course I've had other influences growing up. I mean, I loved System of a Down. I loved AFI, which is like more of a pop punk. People don't know them here in Europe, AFI at all. It's super weird because they were huge.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, no. Anytime I bring up AFI, they're like, "Who?" I'm like, "What?" But it happens. There's so many bands here that were like popular, and I'm like, I don't know, never heard it. And Rammstein was also important, and things that were very mainstream at the moment. And then it was probably when I was like, when the Avenged Sevenfold album City of Evil came out, they started going in a more power metal direction because they were influenced by Blind Guardian Sonata in that album. And then I was like, I want more like this. And that's when I started discovering bands like Rhapsody, Blind Guardian, Sonata, and then I was like, this is what I want. This is it. And from there that was kind of it.
Kristin, how is the metal scene in Sweden?
Oh, it's amazing. I live in a town that's like 3 hours north of Stockholm, so I unfortunately don't get to like go to all the shows that I would want to. If I do go, it's only a 3-hour drive, so it's really not so bad. But what I've noticed, what Sweden does, that's really special, is that there is funding for the arts. I am so shocked about all the grants. And there's an amazing organization here called Pop, and they will give you grants. They will help you out. They will, and I now I understand like why bands in Sweden get an extra leg up than American bands. And I was like, oh, it's because the government and these community organizations are actually helping. There are spaces to play. There's a culture house that does like, the really small like death metal shows, and it's really fun, like right in the center of town with all the little old people. It's like you still have this center of like a youthful metal culture and bands that have the opportunities to play. And then if a band is doing really well, these organizations literally will pay to help them. Like we were gonna set like some band, they got set up to play for Judas Priest, or they'll get set up to play for like big bands as a local opening act. And I was like, this is how it happens. And so it's really interesting coming from the American side, where you have to like fight tooth and nail for virtually all your opportunities, and you're fighting up against so much, and you're certainly not getting government assistance. Right. So it's been very interesting to see it from this point of view. It's been very interesting.
How did you connect with Temperance and Twilight Force?
So with Temperance it's pretty crazy. I met both of them at the same time on 70,000 Tons of Metal. If you know 70K, the cruise, it's the best thing ever, best place in the world. And in the same year, I had a mutual friend who was the drummer of Twilight Force, introduced me to Daniel, who is now my husband, which is really crazy. But we met on this cruise, and we were talking, and a few months after the cruise, he hired me to go and sing some backing vocals for the Twilight Force album, Dawn of the Dragon Star. And at that point, then we started this like long distance. We're like, okay, let's start a long distance relationship. And so we've been, that's kind of that. And then it's kind of spiraled from there, where we just do more things. And now I'm in the band, which has been super great. And with Temperance, I met Marco, who's the leader of Temperance, on the boat, that same cruise. And I was introduced in some capacity. And I guess he just kept like me in his feeds or on his friends list, and we just kind of kept in touch. And so when I started releasing these covers, he reached out to me and he was like, I want you for Temperance. Like, our singer just left, like you're our first choice. And that's, based on the covers I did. And so I always tell people, listen, if you want to get into this, you have to have a YouTube channel, because you need to have a public portfolio. So that's the way to do it. And it's been great because, my husband is a sound engineer. Obviously, he does with Twilight Force, but he teaches sound engineering. He is great. So he's been able to, I had the leg up to help me with really nice produced covers in the very beginning. Not everyone has that, though. But yeah, so that was great. But yeah, it was the covers that really got Marco's attention for me. And that's when he asked me to record Hermitage, the last album, and go on tour. It was a tour first and then record. So it was really a lot at once.
Any new music coming from Temperance and Twilight Force, and what about touring?
For both, we have new music in, I would say, sometime next year. There is nothing set, but I know I'm for Temperance. I know in later this fall, like November, I'm going to be doing the vocals for the new Temperance album, so that's quite soon. And Twilight Force is very special. Daniel works at a very special pace. And, Twilight Force's music is so dense and complex with the arrangements and stuff, so that takes a really hefty chunk of time. So he doesn't like putting like here's a deadline. Like, that's kind of the worst thing ever for him, is like to have a deadline for something. But we do have a general deadline, so we're hoping for sure there will be an album next year. With just when is not really specific.
Covers. How do you decide? Do you have a favorite cover of all time, and how do you decide on what covers to do?
Favorite cover I ever did. Oh my God, I feel like each one I do is super great. Each one I do is like, oh, that's my new favorite. That's my new favorite. I love the very first cover I did was Twilight Horizon with Twilight Force. And that was great because it was a redone orchestration by Daniel. And I do that song live now. And that was like an impossible song. But it fits my voice really well. And it's really, really fun to sing. And it's the very first cover I did. And that's also what helped me push the whole thing, I think. But I mean, when I look at it, I could almost not listen. I could listen to it. I can't watch it because I've learned so much about video production. I mean, I never touched a camera in my life. You know, like when you go to school for classical music, you're never taught that, hey, you're going to have to put yourself on social media, which is strange for me. I really wasn't a social media person. Like I still feel awkward posting new things. I am not that type of person that's like, oh, here's content. But you have to. In this day and age, it's a ugly necessity. And but now I feel like I'm making a lot of fun out of it. I have a lot of new equipment, and I'm feel like I'm getting quite good at like producing my own videos and editing, and it felt like a whole new skill, and it's a skill that I'm watching unfold in a cool way. So I'm really proud of that. But the older videos, I'm like, okay, you know, it's just kind of, I didn't know anything at all what's happening, but you need a video because without a video, covers won't necessarily push. But I guess like, you know what, I worked with Richie Castellano from Blue Oyster Cult. And we did a session where we did Jet City Woman by Queensryche, and we did an Evanescence song, and then we did Magic of the Wizard's Dream by Rhapsody. Now, his musicians that he has for his band Geeks are unbelievable. And so I walked in and we like literally did this in one take. Like all of them were, okay, there's a couple mess ups or whatever, but like that was the one take. I was like, I couldn't believe these musicians. Like they are just so unbelievable. But doing the Jet City Woman, that was really cool. But the Magic of the Wizard's Dream, this Rhapsody cover, was like, oh, heart and soul. Like this is like, it's like the nerdiest song ever, but I just love it. And I would say it's probably one of my absolute favorites.
Richie, another Long Island guy. I think I remember
He
talking to
is.
him. We were going back and forth like you and I were about Long Island landmarks at one point a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all Stony Brook people, the Blue Oyster Cult guys,
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
or like the original members at least. So it's cool. Yeah.
All right. So you teach vocal lessons online to coaching. Where can viewers find you online and sign up for coaching?
So I have a Patreon, which has been really great for putting everything is a kind of in one, which I really like about it. So you can sign up on my Patreon. I have limited slots, but they do change from time to time. So if you're interested to check out the Patreon. But the Patreon also, you asked before about how do I choose covers. That's also a Patreon perk, is that usually I try to do it once a month, but it's a bit tricky. So once every 2-3 months, the patrons choose. So I do like, there are people who put in suggestions at a certain tier, and then everybody can vote on these. And whatever one wins, I do. So that's like one thing. And then, so that's one way of getting the covers done. And that's one way of like also supporting and like helping this journey out, because it ain't free to do these covers. So it's been really nice to like have a little bit of that income to kind of help support that. But the lessons, it's great because it's all in one platform. And then in my Discord, there are certain sections for people with vocal questions. And then it becomes like my little vocal studio community. And it's been very cool. Because before, my students really wouldn't talk to each other, right? Because there's no way. But now they can talk to each other, and they could ask questions, and I'm more available on the Discord. So I think it's pretty neat.
Yeah. So she's on Patreon. Also, Instagram, Kristin Starkey Contralto.
Yes.
You can connect with her there. New music coming next year from both Temperance and Twilight Force. They'll be touring. But make sure you follow her too, and check out her covers on YouTube as well. Kristin Starkey, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
And this is the Metal Queens podcast. Like it, share it, subscribe to it. Thanks for watching. I'm Steve Richards.